The final 5-star rankings came out for us here at On 3 yesterday. Had a couple of new 5 stars earn their 5-star status. Had a couple of 5 stars that were already 5 stars find their final place. We have a new top quarterback rather, for the class of 2024, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Before we get to that, though, I want us to unpack some of these new 5 stars because I think their impact they could make at the next level is enormous. Charles Power and Cody Belair, the individuals that oversee scouting and rankings for us here at On 3, they don't miss. Nobody's watching more ball than them. People like to disagree with their take and disagree with what they're saying about these prospects. And then you fast forward the tape about 3 or 4 years, look at the NFL draft, and it's like, oh, they actually kind of nailed that cycle. Yeah, they're pretty good at their job. So with that being said, let's start with one of the first new 5 stars, a player that jumped from 38 to 7 in our rankings, Tennessee signee edge Jordan Ross. Now, Charles Power calls Jordan Ross the most complete edge of this 2024 class. Freaky athlete. All right, like freaky athlete in the sense that he is an edge defender and he has a dunk highlight reel on the basketball court. Y'all, people that big should not be able to do stuff like that. You play defensive line in the SEC. You should not be able to get up like that. Trenches win trophies is what I want to make sure we say about Tennessee. And think about what Jordan Ross is being added to on that defensive line at Tennessee. A1 James Pierce went ballistic last year. Another individual that Charles was extremely high on coming out of high school. He was an on-3 outlier for us. I believe we had him higher than anyone else in the industry. Jordan Ross joins him. You think about those teams that win the SEC, the Bamas, the Georgias of recent, they always have freak shows on the defensive line. Guys that go play in the NFL for a long time and are wreaking havoc already at this point early in their career. Jalen Carter comes to mind. I know he's a defensive tackle, but you think about guys like that those teams have had. Will Anderson, another one at Alabama. Like, you have those kind of playmakers on the edge to set the tone for you. You have a chance to win some hardware. I think the fact that they have James Pierce and Jordan Ross is going to be headaches for years to come for their opposition in the SEC. Now, speaking of new 5 stars, a player that jumped from 33 to 13 in these final rankings. A new 5-star Clemson wide receiver signee, TJ Moore. Another player that Charles was well ahead of the game on in terms of evaluating. To me, TJ Moore feels like he could kind of bring that playmaker element back to the wide receiver room at Clemson. Because we think about Clemson and when they were winning national championships, they had those high-profile guys. You had guys that could stretch the field, go win jump balls for you. Like, we thought of Clemson for a minute at least, kind of like in the wide receiver U conversation. TJ Moore, I think, is going to do a lot to bring that kind of attitude back to that wide receiver room. 6'2.5", 195 pounds. If you watched the All-American game, you were pretty much watching the TJ Moore highlight reel. Felt like he did whatever he wanted that day and was just dominant in every single sense. If they can bring an explosive element back to that Clemson offense, something we haven't seen there in a while. If TJ Moore can help bring that back, Clemson's going to have a whole new outlook on what they are as a football team, because I really believe that's one of their key ingredients they were missing in recent years. Another big-time player, or another player that's going to have a big-time impact, rather, on the ACC until further notice, is a new 5-star Florida State quarterback, Luke Kromenhoek. Now, Luke Kromenhoek is the highest-rated prospect at quarterback to sign with the Noles since Jameis Winston. How wild is that? Since Jameis Winston, this is the highest-rated quarterback prospect Florida State has had signed, and we think he is going to be a dog, especially once he gets some more time in Tallahassee to develop. Only started 2 years at the high school level at the quarterback position. So when he gets to Tallahassee, if he's able to, I don't know if redshirting is on the table for him, but if he's able to kind of just develop physically, be able to get integrated into that offense, learn from Mike Norvell, learn from the guys ahead of him, we think he's going to have a great career long-term. One of the things that Charles Power loves about him, says he has one of the strongest arms in the cycle and has a really quick release. All the physical tools he has and the upside you pair with that is what gets us excited about Luke Kromenhoek. And, Florida State, you look at the future for them. If you have a quarterback who can play at an elite level, you have the price of admission to be elite in college football. Like, I think that's sort of the world we're entering into now in the 12-team playoff. If you have a quarterback, you have a chance. We say that every single week, it feels like, on this show. But for Florida State to have a quarterback of the future in Luke Kromenhoek should feel excited. So looking forward to see what he does in Tallahassee, but you got your quarterback of the future there for the Noles. Speaking of quarterbacks in the Sunshine State, a quarterback who is already on campus in Gainesville is quarterback DJ Lagway. Now, DJ Lagway has been a 5-star, but he is now the number 1 quarterback in the class of 2024. Took over that top spot. And, I mean, in his senior year, he earned every single accolade that came his way because he did numbers like Goodwill Hunting on the field. I mean, he threw for over 4,500 yards, completed 72% of his passes, threw for 58 touchdowns, ran for almost 1,000 yards, had 16 rushing touchdowns, was Gatorade National Player of the Year. Like, dude put on a spectacle every single Friday night. The reason why this is impactful, or a bigger reason at a macro level why this is impactful for Florida, obviously you got a quarterback who's a specimen now on your roster. That's huge. But the thing that I look at long-term for Florida, and we said this in a one-off video yesterday, to me now with DJ Lagway playing quarterback for you, your offense can be as dynamic as you choose to be. Like, there is no governor from a skill set perspective on your Florida offense in the future with DJ Lagway playing quarterback. If you're a play caller, you go from the mindset of, okay, what can we call as an offense to what do we want to call as an offense? The example I used yesterday is 3rd and 1. You want to call quarterback design run, little quarterback power, little read option, or you want to go quick game. You want to go, a slant concept. You want to go sticks across the board and just have a little 5-yard hitch route. You feel good about him doing either one of those things consistently. That's the key thing, consistently. Great athlete, great build, 230 pounds, right around 6'2.5", 6'3". He's going to be a player for a long time. Long time is DJ Lagway. So him being the top quarterback in 2024, again, not a new 5-star, but the fact that he took over that top spot at the quarterback position in our 2024 cycle deserves to be talked about. And good vibes in Gainesville. Good vibes with him already being on campus. Promise you we'll talk a lot about him when we get to spring football. Last player I want to talk about here, we can't do a segment on the final 5-star rankings without talking about the top player in the class of 2024, and that is Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. 6'3", 215 pounds. You ask me, just like the next great one at Ohio State. Ohio State has churned out top wide receiver prospects, it feels like, every single year. Jeremiah Smith will be that next one. Make no mistake about it. Charles calls him the most advanced wide receiver prospect in years. So not just ability, but also being polished, being ready for that next level. The feeling is a player of his caliber will more than likely see the field early in Columbus. 90 receptions, almost 1,400 yards, and 19 touchdowns his senior year. Y'all, that is ridiculous. That is video game numbers. He was a state champion in the 110 and 400-meter hurdles in the state of Florida. Like, I don't know if we're all on the same page here. They do track in the state of Florida. So if you're a state champ in not one but 2 events, the hurdles much less, you're pretty freakish athletically. Jeremiah Smith obviously is every bit of that. And the thing that I love about him too, when we were breaking down his tape earlier before his senior season, I was watching it and like, man, this guy's feels like he could play anywhere on the field. And so I texted Charles to kind of check myself and see if I was on the right track with how he could translate to the next level. And I was like, Charles, is Jeremiah Smith a guy that you could see playing in the slot a little bit? Is he truly just an outside wide receiver guy with his size? Like, how do you see him at the next level? And Charles texted me back, very succinct, and says he can play anywhere at the next level. And so what that tells me, if you have Jeremiah Smith and you're able to put him in the slot, you're able to put him outside, you're able to kind of move him around where you see fit from a skill set perspective by nature of what you ask him to do physically, that means as an offense, you get to pick your matchup. You get to decide if you want to have him on a safety or if you want to put him on that corner. Like, you don't constrict his usage to being at a specific position on the football field. So you pair that versatility with his overall just freakish athletic ability and ability as a wide receiver. Good things are going to happen in Columbus. And Jeremiah Smith, like I said, I believe he's set to be the next great one for the Buckeyes at that wide receiver position. So you can check out that full final 5-star rankings for us here at On3 over at on3.com. The On3 Recruits channel also has a great full in-depth breakdown of all of our 5 stars. Josh Newberg and Charles Power go player by player and give you their analysis and give you the reason for why they're rated where they are. But like I said, Charles Power, Cody Belair, they do not miss. So if you have a issue with where certain guys are ranked, I would say just let's sit tight for a second. Let's see where they are when the NFL draft rolls around, because the NFL draft is the truth teller here for us. We have 32 5-stars because that's how we believe these players are grading out when it comes to the NFL level. So it's a projection for sure, but I'll tell you what, Charles Power and Cody Belair, nobody better at projecting in the entire industry. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.